Well, welcome to Pop Palace. My name is Jack. I'm the host. At Pop Palace, we celebrate iconic queer people and women in pop music and in the pop culture space. So, one thing we like to do is have our guests introduce themselves and tell us one of your earliest memories you have
Oh
in music.
wow. Well, my name is Yas, um, and one of my earliest memories. Let's see. I took like instrument lessons as a kid, and I guess my first memory was I really wanted to play guitar like as my first instrument, and I remember going
Mm-hmm.
to the I guess music lesson place, and they were like, "Your fingers are too short. You can't play guitar."
Oh.
And so I was really sad. um, I feel like that was a lie, like looking at it now I'm like, that was propaganda because my mom wanted me to play
That's
piano instead.
crazy.
Or
Mm-hmm.
like at least as my first instrument. So yeah, so I learned piano instead, which is fine. It's very useful these days, but now I do play guitar, so there we go. But it's one little
Perfect.
story.
That's wild. I've never heard of anyone having like fingers not long enough. I feel like that is
Yeah, I mean,
propaganda.
definitely like on some of those like bigger guitars with the wider necks, like if your fingers are
Mm-hmm.
less long, then it's kind of hard to like play some of the chords. But I mean, as a kid, like surely they have kid-sized guitars. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's iconic. So, growing up in London, how did your environment influence how you saw
yeah. I mean,
music?
I feel like London is one of those great places where there's so much music going on in different forms. And I mean, one hand was like I was lucky to do it at school and have like these really great teachers that helped me develop like my musical ability. So not just
Mm-hmm.
in the sense of like learning instruments, but getting to learn how to produce. And there was like a little very bare bones but useful studio as well at my school. So that was great to just like have fun and try and record something. And I have like one song that we did record, and I think it lives still somewhere on my SoundCloud. But it was like the first song I wrote at
Yeah.
14. Um, it is not good, obviously, but it's like it's a nice memory. And like, yeah, I guess the first time that I really thought about like making music properly. So I, in one sense, like London, that's what it means to me musically. And then in another sense, just like going to a lot of shows and people coming on tour and stuff. And I always, and now like having lived in New York the last 4 or 5 years, I feel like it's such a different experience when like American artists come to the UK and tour, because they're like playing
Mm-hmm.
smaller venues at first at least. And I remember like um I saw Omar Apollo like in 20, I think it was 2018 or 2019. He was playing like a 700 capacity venue. And now I'm like,
Yeah.
that's crazy. Like Billie
That's so
Eilish, it
crazy.
was like right before she released her first album, and it was like a 2,000 capacity venue. It was already like crazy then, but like literally 2 weeks later, she dropped the first album, and obviously since then, it's like you're never gonna
Yeah.
find her in a 2,000 capacity venue. So I feel
Uh-uh.
like, yeah, some really cool
That's amazing.
experiences, and also just some of the jazz clubs because I grew up playing saxophone. So going to some of those
Mm-hmm.
places, yeah, I feel like there's really a variety of um, like the musical history in London, and even like some like English like rap or hip hop artists are just, it's just such a different flavor, and I don't listen to it as much as I used to when I was living like fully in the UK. But whenever I like hear it again,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, this is good. Like it's different than the American like artists, but yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Do you find that living in New York, you find different inspiration than you did when you were living in London?
Um, I think, I mean, for sure. I mean, part of it is like being an adult now, and everything that comes with that, and
Yeah.
navigating your 20s and post grad and everything. But I think there is another aspect of just like looking out of the window of like my apartment and seeing the skyline, and and me, and also like everybody I've met through like whether it was while I was in college or like afterwards, and like getting inspiration from my collaborators and other people's music. Some of the, I mean, these people I definitely wouldn't have met had I not moved here. So there is definitely an aspect of living here that like is very invigorating.
Yeah, definitely. And you went to
Yes.
NYU, right? And how was that? Can you give us like a little
Yeah.
insight on your
Well, so I went
experience
to
there?
the Clive Davis Institute at NYU, which is
That's
which
so
is
sick.
most famous for the viral Maggie Rogers video, where Pharrell is like, "I
Mm-hmm.
have zero notes" on her song, which is crazy.
Like,
Um, yeah, so that was an amazing program for many different reasons. I mean, what I learned was like so helpful and inspirational. Just like having all those professors who have like worked in the industry, um, and having them teach you. So yeah, I learned a lot like on a practical sense, but also like again, kind of like everybody I met while I was there is just like so inspirational to know all these people and to work with them and like get advice and see what they're doing now, post grad. And so I think honestly, the number one thing you I took away, and I think that a lot of people take away from the program, is just the community and like yeah, getting to know
yeah,
everybody.
definitely. I just graduated from a
Cool,
music school where
congrats.
I'm at, and it's a similar experience. Like, it's almost like finding the people that are doing the same thing as you and getting in that
Exactly.
community. Um, it's not no Clive Davis Institute, but it's run by. Do you know the Flaming
I think
Lips?
yeah, this sounds
They're like
familiar.
an older indie band. Yeah, they're like from Oklahoma
Cool.
City. That's where I'm based, and they
Well,
started a
congrats on
music
winning
school.
the NBA.
Oh yes, I already forgot about
Yeah.
that. I live downtown, so last night I was just like hearing all this noise. I was like, "Wait, what's happening?" Because I
Hmm.
got off work late, and then opened my phone, and everything is just like
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
NBA.
I'm not a big basketball fan, but you know, everyone was talking about it, so
Mm-hmm. I'm at least glad like we'll get a little more attention.
for sure.
So your new EP, Home Anywhere, explores the meaning of home. What sparked this theme for you, and how do you approach it creatively?
Like what sparked the concept of the EP or just the whole EP? Okay, the
Yeah, the
concept.
concept of the
Honestly,
EP.
the concept came afterwards. I think I started writing some of these songs like summer of 2023, and
Mm-hmm.
the first one I wrote was Without You, which is like the lead single. And and after I like was writing all of these songs, I was sort of realizing that there was this common theme sort of loosely threaded through all of them of like what are the different ideas of home and like how it can be a person, but it can also be a place, and I guess the complicated feelings as well. And so having
Mm-hmm.
like um graduated last year and sort of I get again kind of the definition changing a little bit for me and feeling a little like disoriented with like the real world. We're like entering the real world
Yeah.
after being in school for like 22 years, and obviously also
Mm-hmm.
not being where my home is. Uh, Although New
Yeah.
York has become like another home for me. So I guess I was just thinking about all
Mm-hmm.
these things and how all these songs were sort of connecting all these ideas. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to name the EP after this, because I feel like, yeah, it just makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Do you ever see yourself moving back
I
to
could see
London?
myself potentially. I mean, I like New York a lot. I honestly, my ideal world, I would be like spending some time here and spending some time in London, spending some time in LA,
Mm-hmm.
and having all these different projects. But I'm not there yet. But yeah, I
Yet.
I definitely miss London, and yeah, like miss my friends and family and my dog mostly. Um, but I do really enjoy like living in New York and the whole community here. So I think that's the main thing holding me
Mm-hmm.
back from like moving back, because I don't have as much of like a music community back home, since I left
Yeah.
after high school. So,
Okay.
but there's still an opportunity to build one.
Yeah, definitely. So, thinking about your EP, are there any like specific colors that come to mind like when you're either listening or like writing the
Mm,
music? To me, I feel like I usually associate like songs with the color or like a vibe or a mood? Do you
Yeah.
like have any of that?
Honestly, this is something I've kind of struggled with. I feel like I'm not a very visual person. Um, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm always like, whenever it comes to like the visual aspect of of like putting out my music and making mood boards, I'm always a bit stuck. But to be honest, with this album, I got a lot of like greens and I guess like a combination of sort of like aspects of nature, but also like city life, and like I guess sort
Mm-hmm.
of lights up like almost pastel colors. I think that's like kind of the inspiration with the cover art was that's like a street like around the corner from where I live, and I like had noticed those two houses, the like I think it's like a light sort of pink and the blue, and those colors are really cute, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, these houses are so cute, I should include them in the cover, and it'll like tie into the concept and everything and be very DIY. And green is also one of my favorite colors, and I was really lucky that like that car just drove past as I was taking the photos, and I was
Uh-huh.
like, "This is okay, we got it. Like that's the shot." And then did some editing to like really bring out the saturation of the colors. But I guess yeah, those are kind of what I had in mind while I was making all of this. Um, but yeah,
I love it. So it's a place like not too
yeah,
far from where you live.
it's
Do
literally
you
like
like
the
walk
street
by it?
over from my apartment. Um,
Wait, that's so cool because like in a few years you'll walk by it and be like, oh,
yeah,
it takes me back.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
That's
I was like,
awesome.
I should take photos in the neighborhood, and then it'll really be home. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Have there been any like surprising or unexpected moments you've had while being in your music career?
Hmm, that's a good question. Um, Off the top of my head, I don't know, but
Or
like, I guess, well, yeah, I don't know. Like, sometimes I've had unexpected things in terms of when I was in college, like the people that would come and visit, and
mm-hmm.
like I had this one songwriting class, and like one week he was like, okay, I have Fletcher and her writing team here on the call. It's like, okay, this is
Yeah.
crazy. Like, or
Like,
like,
okay,
we had like
that's
Jack
insane.
Antonoff once as our artist in residence. So
That's
I guess it's
insane.
not really personally like in my career, but I guess yeah, those experiences while I was in school was like very surreal. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember one semester, I mean, it's not really like something that happened, but like they were offering this Taylor Swift class, which I didn't take because I
Oh
was like,
yeah.
oh, I don't need to take a class on Taylor Swift, whatever. But now I'm kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
maybe I should have taken that class. But
Yeah.
I remember it was like, it went, I mean, I think like some of the like bigger outlets heard about this and like we're all reporting about it, like Variety or something or Rolling Stone. So it was just funny,
Yeah.
like things like that that happened. Um, but yeah.
That's so cool. That's awesome. Um, jealous of like, so Miley Cyrus created an album in Oklahoma City, and it was like right before I started going to school here, and I'm
You wish you'd been
so
around.
upset because it's
Yeah,
I'm like, it's her Dead Pets album that's like a little bit different and weird. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
I was almost there, but I
Sure.
missed it. So how much of the music do you do all on your own, or how do you find a time to reach out and ask for help or ask for a collaborator for
Yeah.
creating music?
Um, I would say a lot of my songs I write by myself. Although I'm always open to
Mm-hmm.
writing with other people, but I feel like whenever I've like been in sessions for co-writes, it ends up like being a song for pitch or being somebody else's song. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of the stuff I make is, or a lot of stuff on the EP is like I wrote myself. But a couple songs I produced by myself. A couple I produced with my friend Caroline Mead. She's a really cool, also an artist, songwriter, producer from New York. And then one of those songs is kind of, I guess maybe this was my sort of funny-ish moment, but like I was taking this class my senior year of college with my professor Bobby Wooten, And he like plays bass for like Sabrina Carpenter and stuff. So he's like has a
Mm-hmm.
lot going on,
So
but
cool.
he's like very cool. And it was an advanced production class, and so he was like, there were only four of us in the class. He was like, I'm gonna produce
Mm-hmm.
show everyone how I would produce your songs. And so he brought in all of these like really cool musicians, professional like touring musicians, and everything. And so they played on the fourth song on my EP, Joan. um, and that was like a really
Mm-hmm.
cool process to watch. Like, wow, like they're just so locked in and getting the arrangement like down so quickly. um, so
Yeah.
that was cool. But yeah, so it's kind of a mix of DIY and some like more professional stuff. But I'm always looking to
Mm-hmm.
work with new people and like especially collaborate in production and songwriting and stuff. So with my next project, I'm like looking to do a lot more of that.
Yeah, definitely. That's so cool. Does Was there ever conflicts with like him attending class versus him being like on
Um,
tour?
Not for my class because it was like every 2 weeks class. But I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
this year I think Sabrina was touring a lot, and so I think he must have
Mm-hmm.
had to rearrange some classes, or I think he did one of his classes
Yeah.
like on Zoom, from what I
Mm-hmm.
heard. So, but I mean, I
Yeah.
guess that's what happens when like the school is always trying to get people who are still like in the industry and like active. So something they
Yeah,
have to
definitely.
balance.
That's cool. I had a few Zoom classes from like they were on the
Yeah,
bus like traveling,
yeah.
and they'd be like, "We still have class, don't
I know. Can
worry."
you
I'm like,
imagine
"Oh,
like you have to like
okay."
grade homework while you're like sound checking for the Grammys or something?
No, it's like insane. I'm like, you're not even in the same country right now.
Exactly.
So when you're like writing music or like taking notes for a future song, do you use your notes app or like pen and paper or like
Yeah,
what's the
I
vibe
feel like
there?
I've tried to do the pen and paper thing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
stylistically it looks good, but realistically I use my notes app a lot. Like notes app is where I'm at,
Yeah.
and for me, I'm just like I need to be able to change like edit stuff and not have the page be like crazy. I know some people use Google
Yeah.
Docs, but for me, that's too intense. That feels like
Yeah, that's too
that feels
much.
like
That's
okay,
like a
I'm
little
writing an essay.
step ahead.
But yeah, like because
Yeah.
I don't know, on the notes app you can still share it with collaborators and they can join the notes. So for me,
Mm-hmm.
it's perfect. But yeah,
Yeah. That's awesome. So, what is like an ultimate dream or like it can be like super far out there like create your own music festival or even as much as like create this album at this kind of time. Do you have like a out there goal or dream or like fantasy you want to
wow.
achieve?
I don't know if it's like out there, but obviously I'd like to work on some like big pop records as a songwriter.
Yeah.
Um, because for
Mhm.
me, I'm like as much as I am an artist, I also love songwriting and love writing for other people and with other people, and that's something I want to
Mhm.
do a lot more of in the future. So yeah, obviously the dream would be to get some of those cuts, but what's
Yeah.
that? What else? Like I guess play a festival would be really cool. Um,
Mhm.
New York City based venues. I feel like whenever you're anyone who lives here always has like their like dream venues. I think for me that would be
Yeah.
I think that would be Radio City for me. Like
Uh-huh.
yeah,
That'd be so
I
iconic.
I've actually already kind of been on stage because when I my graduation was there, and so there's like there was like a
That's so
performance that
cool.
we'll were a part of. But yeah, obviously I'd like to do
Mhm.
my own performance there, and I always think like the sound quality in at Radio City is just so good um, compared to like Madison Square Garden or something. I'm like, okay, it's a cool
Yeah.
venue, but like this is like a basketball um, arena.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
made for sports. And like Radio City is just like such an iconic
yeah,
staple. I feel like the whole
mm-hmm.
sign and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah, that's so I love that. Okay, I have one last question that we ask all of our guests at Pop Palace. So, going off the palace and royalty theme, if you could create a royal court of either musical influences or idols to sit on your throne
Wow.
with you, You can pick like two or three. Who would
Okay.
you pick?
Um, number one is gonna. Well, can it be a band as one of them? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
totally. There's like no rules. Whatever
Well,
you
my
want.
favorite band is Muna. I'm obsessed with them
Mm-hmm.
and all the band members. So that would be one. Um, let's see. I kind of want to say Joni Mitchell. I don't know if we'd actually get along
Mm-hmm.
though. So, but she's really cool. Like I mean, she's just an icon. And definitely has like
Yeah.
influenced my songwriting a lot. And hmm, to be honest, I feel like I'd be intrigued to have Ed Sheeran. Um,
Yeah.
because
That's so
I'm
fair.
not like as much of a fan these days, but when I was like 11, I was obsessed because I liked like I loved
Mm-hmm.
his Plus album. I liked Multiply. It kind of
Yeah.
went downhill after that, but I still think he's like really
Mm-hmm.
talented. I think he could just put a little more effort in making some more creative
Yeah.
songs. That's
No,
how
I
I
totally agree.
feel.
And those two albums are like staples for like middle school through like middle school and high school. Like they're so
hmm
nostalgic to me.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah,
like they
it's
did
crazy.
like deep down influence me in my songwriting a lot, and like even his sort
Mm-hmm.
of spoken word slash rap kind of songs, like I have a couple of
Yeah.
those and I'm like, oh, I must have sort of internalized that from just listening to those albums, singing those songs and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think it's so cool how like we can like pick up things from things that we listened to in the past and not even like actively do it. It's just like little inspiration here and there.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so
Thank you
much
so
for
much for
joining
having me.
us. Yes, of course. I know our audience is gonna be so excited to listen. Could you tell everyone where they can find you on the internet
Yeah,
and like on
absolutely.
streaming
My name is Yas
services?
Akdag. That's YASAKDAG. You can find me at Yas Akdag Music on Instagram and TikTok, and on streaming services, it's just Yas Akdag. Yeah,
Awesome.
amazing. Thank you
Yay.
so much.
Well,
All right. Well,
yeah.
thank you so
Have a
much.
good
Have a
one. Bye
good one.
bye.
Bye.